Welcome back to Hunter Bros. Today we will be replacing brakes on a Case 580C. Today we're going to show you how to replace the master and slave cylinders. So we've already replaced the master cylinders so usually you have to take this entire thing off, but we just sawed a hole right here. And these two bolts, they go through both of them, so it wasn't a big deal. You just pull them all the way out and replace them and then put them all the way back in. And this is the fluid line, and make sure to replace it very gently.
So yeah, you just undo these two bolts there, and there. And they kind of just fall right out, and then you can put the bolt right all the way back through. It's kind of tricky to get in way back there. There's the nuts on the other end. I don't know if you can see that very well, but anyway, one of them's kind of tricky to get to, but not too bad.
I'm going to be showing you how to replace the slave cylinders. So we would have been able to access it on the bottom, but it would have been a lot harder. So we just ripped out the floorboard. Even though it took some time, it would still be much easier than going under. So we've already replaced this one, but it's about the same as the master cylinders. But we haven't finished the other slave cylinder, so we can show you that right now. So this right here is the bleed screw, and
on the back, right?
Yeah, on the back of this thingy.
You can just...
And that's the bleed screw.
To replace it, you just kind of... If you wanted to replace, this one's already been replaced, but you just undo that nut, the nut closest, and you carefully unscrew it because the brake lines are really expensive. And this plunger will fall out, so it's if you let it. So you got to kind of just put it back in. After you're done bleeding it, then you just slide it under, like there, put the plunger into the hole that it goes in for the brakes, and then you put the two bolts, right there and there. And so we're going to do that with this one. Just put the two bolts back in, tighten it up. While we have access to it, we've also fixed the parking brake, which never worked. And to be honest, I'm not 100% sure that this is going to, so you can see that it actuates that. To make the adjustment, because the parking brake really didn't work at all. As far as I can tell, what you do is you just tighten this up, take a lot of the slack out of there so it pulls this up higher like that. You might need to take this cotter pin out and this pin to get better access to it, so it kind of slides down a little farther. But anyway, you just tighten both of those up on both sides to take the slack out if there is any. These are self-adjusting brakes, and if you hear about the ratchet system they're talking about, I assume it's this, which kind of tends to fail, and so you might need to screw with the ratchet a little bit anyway. So that'd be twisting this bolt. Gosh, I don't remember which way it looks. I think clockwise, but you can tell whichever way it ratchets to try to take some slack out for the brakes in there that way too. So anyway, yeah, you can adjust the parking brake while you got the floorboard off, do the brakes. The brakes worked up until they failed completely. The pedal just going all the way to the floor. So I'm hopeful that now with the brakes working, you can kind of see they don't go all the way to the floor anymore. They kind of go, oh, well, that one does, so maybe there is a problem yet. Anyway, well, didn't a second ago, so maybe there's still something a little loose that we gotta sort out. But anyway, we'll get it done. Well, here we are again, day 1,000,001, whatever, Case 580C. Doing the brakes. Brakes led to seals. Well, one brake led to another brake, which led to seals that needed to be replaced. So I thought I would just do a little video because I didn't really see anything quite like it online. Actually, let me just pull this off again. So this is kind of the brake housing. It's kind of heavy, so. So inside of there, down in there, that's a seal, big seal. I've got another one out of the package that I could show, and then inside of there is, in there, you probably can't quite see it, there's another seal, and it looks something like that. Well, I've got another one of them too, I'll show you later, but anyway, those were kind of, the one in there wasn't too much of a surprise, and it was leaking into the brake housing, which goes onto here. There's a bolt there, 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 and there. And there's also a differential lock that goes on. It makes this side a little more difficult than this side over there. Now up there is the slave cylinder, which is on a different video. It goes up under there, presses against the brake housing. But anyway, the surprise was that it was leaking differential fluid, gear oil, from right about this area. And I didn't realize at the time, because I was totally ignorant, that that was actually the brake housing. So this plate comes off. There's a bunch of metal spacers under here. They're not gaskets, they're just spacers. So you got to make sure to get those all right when you're replacing this. And I pulled this plate off. There's a screw right there that's kind of hard. You need a kind of a special, huge, sort of like you can use a chisel or a really big flathead screwdriver, and it's still tough. You gotta wiggle it. I had to go back and forth to finally get it off, loosen it up. But yeah, there's that seal on this housing. There's like a bell on the back of it, and there's an O-ring that kind of goes on the outer top of it. Then there's the big huge seal in there, big thick thing, about half an inch thick. And then there's a little seal just like this one, but way smaller, that goes inside there. So you got 3 at least that need to be done. And then you can put this housing back on. I had to use a pick to get this one out. I had to drill it and then use a pick to just grab it. It took me quite a while, but I finally got it without taking that all apart, because I really wanted to avoid that. And then now we're finally to the part where we can get this back in. So one of the major problems was these springs. There's springs in here. One was completely broken, and so when it would engage, it wouldn't disengage, and so it would just stay locked. And the only way to disengage it was to reverse, go forward, reverse. So it would lock up and completely seize up the brakes, and then I'd have to reverse position. Whichever one it was locked in, I had to go the opposite. So anyway, I ended up buying a whole new brake housing instead of just the wear pads, because I don't think this thing's seen attention in a lot of years. Anyway, let's see if I can get this. Kind of trying to do this one-handed is not ideal, but this just kind of goes cup facing towards the differential. So this, you can see up in there, maybe there's it holds the action. It's like this is a cup, and this other thing goes inside, recess inside of it. Anyway, you just slide it on there. Yeah, you're probably not supposed to touch all those wear surfaces, I get it, but this thing's gonna get oil all over it anyway, I guarantee it, so I'm not too concerned. I cleaned it up fairly well, but I'm kind of in the bush. I don't have a shop or anything, so it's gonna have to do. Anyway, then there's a housing. I'll show you. Here. This housing, let me see if I can get some light on here. So this is what had to be replaced also. These are 2 of the bolts that go in wherever on there. This is the differential lock, and there's a 3rd bolt. So this one I had to kind of dink with. Get a glove on. So this thing right here, people said you had to take this off. Point with my knee. That thing, this whole housing off to get this off, but that ended up not being true. I did it without doing that. This bolt doesn't come out all the way. It's kind of just stuck in there. I'm sure you see the one I'm talking about, the one dead center there. That I'll push it in. Now it's in. Now it's out a little bit. But anyway, yeah, it hits this differential lock bar here. But it is possible. You could pull it out enough to remove the brake housing. So the other side, the left side, is just like this, but without this whole assembly here, and you can pull this bolt all the way out. So when you get it out, and what you end up having to do is take this bolt out, which is right there. Right there. You pull that, and that allows you to get these bands out. It's more light in here. You have to undo this, and the pointier side goes down. But yeah, you just twist the bolt off, or the nut off, and the ratchet. These are for the self-adjusting brakes that never seem to quite work. But anyway, you twist that off, and then that allows you, and then take this off, and that allows you to pull these right out of here. You don't have to undo these cotter pins or anything. In there is the differential. So this thing grabs that second spline that comes out that was in the earlier part of the video. This connects up to the parking brake or the emergency brake or whatever. So that's what that's for, and that will need to be adjusted after we put it on. But anyway, I saw bits and pieces of this, but not the whole thing, and because I was in a hurry to get this done, mine won't really be the whole thing either, but it will be other bits and pieces that you could maybe get together with other videos to kind of figure this out. When you factor in the seals and all, it was kind of, for me, it was kind of involved doing it one man, for a one-man job. I'm gonna get this other seal out of here. So yeah, this is the seal that goes on the outside of that housing that I was talking about, and this is the seal that goes inside. I don't think I have a second. So that one goes on the inside. This one goes outside the bell housing type thing, not the bell housing transmission, but it looks like a kind of a bell housing. And I don't think I have a spare for the other one. I think I just had one of those, but the little one that goes inside, here's the spent part of it. So it goes on that the inner spline between the outer and the inner. So it's kind of like that orientation. You need those three. Anyway, hopefully that helps somebody.